This is the Mastercook 3-burner barbecue propane gas grill. It heats fast enough to get dinner on the table without the long wait, and it folds down so I can stash it in a tight corner when I am done. It sits in that sweet spot for backyard cooks who want more than a tiny tabletop grill, but are not trying to turn the patio into a full outdoor kitchen. If you are starting out with grilling, or you want a dependable everyday cooker that still has room for get-togethers, this checks the right boxes. I think of it as a mid-sized propane grill that is friendly to learn on, easy to live with, and big enough to handle a small crowd when you need it. The look is simple and clean. Stainless steel on the lid and the control area, black body panels, and a single solid handle that stays comfortable to touch even when the lid is hot. The two side shelves fold down. That sounds like a small thing, but it matters a lot in real life. Folding the shelves lets me park it alongside garden tools or tuck it near a wall without giving up prep space when I am actually cooking. The wheels are just the right size. I can roll it across patio slabs and over the little seams without wrestling it. The lid thermometer is right up front. I do not open the lid as often because that dial gives me a quick read on whether I am running too hot or sitting in the sweet zone. Inside, the cooking grates are porcelain-enamel, which in practice means food is less likely to cling. That helps when I am flipping delicate things like fish or when cheese melts off a burger and wants to weld itself to the bars. There is also a warming rack that hovers above the main grates. I use it for buns, veggies, or to rest meat that is done early. Getting this grill put together was straightforward, though not perfect. I built it solo. Most steps were clear, and the parts are labeled well enough, but I did have to nudge a couple of screw holes to line up. One washer was missing, and I grabbed a spare from my toolbox. Nothing stopped the build, but it is worth setting aside a little patience for the final alignment. Once assembled, hooking up the propane tank is easy. The tank sits on a lower shelf with a simple bracket and a curved metal keeper that holds the cylinder steady. Swapping tanks is a 2-minute job. The ignition uses a piezoelectric spark. I turn the knob, press in, and it lights. I have not had to reach for a lighter or do the awkward hand dance near the burners. The heat comes on fast. With all 3 burners open, I can get from cold to a solid searing temperature in roughly 10 minutes, sometimes a few minutes sooner if there is no wind. The output is rated at roughly 30,000 British thermal units across the 3 burners. What that means for me is this. The grates get hot enough to lay down proper sear marks on a steak, and I can keep temperature steady for chicken without chasing the flame. The grill space is generous for a mid-sized cooker. There is roughly 470 square inches of total room, with around 340 square inches on the main grates and the rest on the warming rack. In normal terms, I can fit a family pack of burgers at once, with sausages on the side, and still have the upper rack free for corn or toasted buns. Heat distribution matters more than any spec sheet number. After several cooks, my read is that the center runs hottest, and the outer edges are cooler. That is common on a lot of grills in this class. It is not a problem as long as I preheat for a few extra minutes and use the cooler edges to my advantage. I sear in the middle and slide food outward when I want to finish gently. Preheating solves most unevenness. If I rush that step, I do notice patchy browning. Once heat has soaked into the metal, it evens out enough for reliable results. Grease management is adequate, not amazing. There is a drip tray underneath that catches the usual runoff, and it slides out for cleaning. On a windy day with really fatty meat like chicken thighs, I saw a little spatter near the back edge. It did not cause a flare-up, but I now clean the tray after each cook, and I keep a small disposable pan nearby if I know I am doing something extra fatty. That small habit keeps the next session tidy. Here is how it has handled my actual meals. Burgers and hot dogs are easy mode. I preheat, lay everything on the center burners, and get a nice even cook with good color. When the burgers are almost done, I move them to the edges, slide buns onto the warming rack, and let the cheese melt without scorching. Steaks respond well to a 2-zone approach. I light all 3 burners to preheat, turn the middle down a notch, and sear on the center grate. After that first minute or 2 per side, I shift the steak slightly toward the cooler section to finish to my preferred temperature with the lid closed. The built-in thermometer helps me keep the lid shut and resist the urge to peek. Vegetables like asparagus and zucchini sit nicely across the grates without falling through. The porcelain enamel finish keeps them from welding to the metal, so I spend less time prying and more time actually cooking. Chicken thighs need a bit more attention, but with the lid closed and burners nudged lower, the skin renders well and I get minimal flare-ups. One specific evening stands out. I hosted 6 adults and 2 kids. I preheated until the dial sat right in the middle of the target zone, put down 8 burgers across the center and right side, and laid a row of hot dogs on the left edge. While the burgers cooked, I rubbed corn with a little oil and set those on the warming rack. After the first flip, I brushed barbecue sauce on half the burgers, left the others plain, and rotated the hot dogs inward for a little more color. Everything finished at once. The corn stayed warm up top without drying out, the burgers had decent crust, and I did not have to do multiple batches. That is exactly the capacity I want from a grill this size. Another use case is the midweek dinner for 2. I fire the left and center burners, leave the right one off, and treat that right side as a cooler zone. 2 small steaks get a quick sear over the hot side, then they rest on the cooler grates while I throw halved zucchini alongside. Lid down, a couple of minutes later everything is done together. No juggling pans in the kitchen, no long cleanup. The foldable shelves earn their keep here. One holds a tray with salt, pepper, and tongs. The other is where I set a clean plate and a thermometer. When I am done, I fold both shelves and roll the grill back under a cover. I appreciate not having to rearrange the entire patio to make it fit. There are a few smart touches that make life easier. The porcelain enamel grates really do release food with less sticking, and they are simple to clean with a brush after the grates cool a bit. The thermometer on the lid is surprisingly readable at a glance, so I am not tempted to open the grill and dump heat. The ignition has been reliable every time, even on a breezy afternoon. The handle stays comfortable enough to lift the lid without hunting for a glove. And the way the propane tank locks in with that bracket and wire keeps it from wobbling when I move the grill around. It is not perfect. The metal panels on the frame and the lid are thinner than what you get on premium heavyweights, so it does not have that tank-like heft. You feel that during assembly and when you tap the sides. That said, the structure has held up fine through regular use. Preheating a touch longer makes a noticeable difference in how evenly it cooks. The grease tray does its job, but if you are cooking very fatty cuts on a windy day, give it a quick check. Small trade-offs, but worth mentioning for anyone expecting a commercial grade build. Where it shines is the overall experience. It lights easily, heats quickly, and gives me control to sear, roast, and warm without fuss. It has the space to feed a handful of people at once, but it stores compactly when I fold the shelves. It is not intimidating for new grillers, and it has enough punch that I do not outgrow it after a few weekends. If you have a backyard, a patio, or even a decently sized balcony where propane grills are allowed, this fits right in. I would recommend the Mastercook 3-burner barbecue propane gas grill to small families, couples who host occasionally, and anyone who wants a reliable, practical grill that respects limited space. Keep it clean, cover it when not in use, preheat a few extra minutes for even heat, and it will reward you with consistent cooks. If you are chasing restaurant-level heavy metal construction, look elsewhere. If you want something that earns its spot on the patio and makes weeknight dinners as easy as weekend cookouts, this is the one I would pick again. I will leave detailed information about the Mastercook 3-burner barbecue propane gas grill in the comments for your reference. Thank you for watching.